One day, our protagonist Yuzaki was just walking around when he spotted a beautiful girl. Thinking it had to be fate, he tried to approach her, but then a truck suddenly hit him, and Kana took part of the impact while trying to save him. She told him to calm down, assuring him he wouldn't die from something like that, and then she just walked away, heading toward the moon. Yuzaki felt like he had just seen Princess Kaguya herself, so he chased after her with the little strength he had left. He eventually found her waiting at a bus stop, but strangely, she wasn't injured anymore. After wiping some blood off his face and lending him her scarf, Kana was about to disappear again. That's when the protagonist suddenly confessed, asking her to go out with him, saying he'd fallen in love at first sight. To his surprise, she accepted, but only under one condition. They had to get married. And right then, he passed out. When he woke up, Kana was gone. Still, he was told he survived thanks to her. Time passed and Yuzaki never saw her again, until one day she showed up at his house with a marriage certificate, which he signed without hesitation. They went and submitted the paperwork, officially becoming husband and wife. Even though they were strangers at the time, this would turn into an irreplaceable bond. That same night, she moved into his house. Yuzaki asked her why she married him, and Kana simply said it was because she liked him, without explaining how or why she fell for him. Now Yuzaki only had one bed, and it was way too soon for them to sleep together, so Kana planned to stay at a hotel, but he was afraid she might disappear again, so they went out together to buy a futon for her. While doing that, they even held hands like the adorable couple they are. They got everything they needed, but Yuzaki still couldn't believe he was living with someone this beautiful. When it was time to sleep, he was so nervous he couldn't fall asleep, but then he noticed his wife had slipped out of her futon, so he helped her like a true gentleman. He almost stole a kiss but stopped himself because he wanted their first kiss to be something more special. The next morning, Kana was this close to revealing a bit too much, and our boy almost passed out from the view. Later on, they decided to start calling each other by their first names, and this time she was the one who turned bright red. After Kana showed off her cooking skills, Yuzaki took her to a public bathhouse, since he didn't have a shower at home. That's where we meet two of the protagonist's friends. First, there's Kaname, a 15-year-old who acts way more perverted than she should. And then there's Aya, the older sister who's incredibly kind. When she noticed Kana had the same last name as Yuzaki, she assumed she was his little sister. It turns out Aya sees Yuzaki as her savior. After her grandfather passed away, the bathhouse was on the verge of shutting down, but Yuzaki stepped in and handled everything. As for the marriage, for some reason Kaname and Yuzaki decided not to tell Aya. However, she asked why they got married without any kind of ceremony, pointing out that Kana probably would have liked a celebration or at least a proper proposal. So when Kana got a little jealous after hearing Yuzaki call Aya beautiful, he assumed she was talking about the ceremony, thinking she wanted to wear a wedding dress. But in reality, Kana just wanted him to say that she was beautiful too. However, he misunderstood and ran off to research something. While she waited at home, we meet Chitose, a girl Kana once saved from basically dying, which is why she absolutely adores her. She came to take Kana back to the mansion, but when she found out about the marriage, she completely lost it. She kidnapped Yuzaki and took him to the mansion as a prisoner, planning to frame him by taking pictures that made it look like he was cheating. That's when Aurora and Charlotte show up. Charlotte was ready to take things way too far, but Chitose didn't want anything that inappropriate. While they argued, Yuzaki managed to escape and ended up in a room where he found a moon rock, something considered a national treasure. But before he could confirm if it was real, Charlotte caught him off guard. In an attempt to take him out, she almost destroyed the rock and the nitrogen tank preserving it. Luckily, Yuzaki's a genius and managed to stop it just in time. This made the girls incredibly happy, since their aunt had worked hard to obtain that stone to comfort Kana. Yuzaki had no idea about any of this, which made it obvious he didn't know anything about his wife's past. Taking advantage of the moment, they snapped a few pictures and edited one to make it look like he was cheating. Seconds later, Kana showed up. She got seriously upset after seeing the photo and asked to talk to him alone. But in reality, she was just pretending so they could escape together. While running away, Yuzaki admitted he didn't know anything about her past, but said that what really mattered was the present and the future they'd build together. When they arrived at this church, he told her he wanted to be with her through the good and the bad. He basically proposed to her and then finally stole their first kiss. The next day, while Kana was taking a bath and thinking about that kiss, Yuzaki told Kaname he had already proposed. She then told him he should buy rings, since having one would help Kana feel less lonely while he was at work. At first, he didn't take it too seriously, but when he mentioned he had to go to work that day, Kana seemed a little down, so he suddenly kissed her again to cheer her up. She liked it, but didn't want to do that kind of thing in public, since someone might see them. Which is exactly what happened, because the two maids saw everything in 4K. Still, the important thing is that Kana felt a bit sad, which made Yuzaki realize he really should get those rings. So that same night he brought it up, but she told him she didn't need any. However, Yuzaki kept insisting, so Kana took him to a ring shop, hoping the high prices would make him give up. Instead, he almost spent all his savings, so she had to drag him out of the store. That's when he explained why he was so desperate to buy the rings, and Kana realized he was doing all of this for her. She gave him a kiss on the cheek to thank him, and then told him she loved him. After that, they went to another shop and bought more affordable rings. Kana told him what really mattered wasn't the price, it was what the rings symbolized. That was more than enough for her, and it made him stop feeling bad for buying something cheap. That same night, his sleepwalking wife climbed into his bed. Yuzaki got super nervous, but he took advantage of the situation and even stole a kiss from her. Luckily for him, she didn't remember any of it the next morning. He liked the experience so much that he started wanting to sleep next to her every night. To do that, he'd need a bigger bed, but there wasn't enough space, so he suggested moving to a bigger house. At first, she said it wasn't necessary, but the next day he saw her changing clothes and things got very awkward, so they brought it up again, and this time she agreed to move since a bigger house would help them avoid those kinds of accidents. The problem is, to rent a new place, they need someone to co-sign the lease, so the protagonist ends up telling his mom that he got married. But his mom is not dumb. She realizes he's only telling her because he needs her help to move, so she gives him an ultimatum: introduce her to his wife, or she's not helping. He's not too happy about that idea, but since his parents live far away, the trip kind of turns into a honeymoon. Meanwhile, Kana asks him to buy a camera since she wants to capture the memories of their first trip together. Yuzaki starts taking pictures of her, and after realizing just how beautiful his wife is, he gets carried away and takes over 100 photos until she catches him off guard and snaps one of him. Soon after, they get on a bus and head out, which seriously annoys Chitose since she still doesn't accept their marriage, so she decides to follow them and ruin their trip. If you're wondering how she found out about it, it's because the maids follow them everywhere. After a while, the bus stops for a 50-minute break. The couple looks so happy together that the maids ask Chitose why she wants to ruin such a wholesome relationship, but she couldn't care less. However, Chitose doesn't plan to do anything, because according to her, newlyweds always run into problems on their first trip. But to her surprise, the lovebirds keep having a great time and the protagonist keeps taking tons of pictures. Eventually, they get back on the bus and finally reach their destination. But before visiting his parents, they decide to go on a little date. He takes her to a special place where Kana puts on a beautiful kimono, and they share a pretty romantic moment. But Chitose can't take it anymore. She interrupts them just to say she still doesn't approve of their marriage. Hearing that, the protagonist says he'll win her over. So Kana leaves with the maids, while he would have to treat Chitose like his girlfriend to prove he's worthy of Kana. At the same time, Kana reveals why she fell in love with Yuzaki. The reason is actually pretty simple. She says she fell for him because he's kind and caring. Back with these two, Chitose still refuses to budge. It bothers her that Kana chose someone who knows nothing about her, so the protagonist tells her that Kana saved his life. He says he was lucky to meet her, and even if he doesn't know anything about her past, he'll spend his life proving his love is real. After that, he goes back to his wife. He's not sure if he convinced Chitose, but she decided to back off for now. And just like that, it's time to meet Yuzaki's parents. This part is actually pretty funny. The parents are even more nervous than Kana. Still, they talk for a while, until they force Yuzaki to go take a bath, while his dad has a private conversation with Kana. But later she tells him that what they talked about is a secret. Right before going to sleep, his mom asks him not to get too excited tonight. Back in their room, the protagonist is super nervous. Kana tries resting on his arm, but he gets tired almost instantly, so she decides to go back to her futon. But before ending this sweet night, our girl gives him a little goodnight kiss. The next morning, Kana quickly changes while he's asleep, except he was actually pretending and saw everything in full HD. Later on, she asks Yuzaki to go on another date, since Chitose interrupted them the day before. So they visit historical places, take some of pictures together, and Kana starts talking about events that happened thousands of years ago. It's kind of interesting because moments like this always hint that she might be something more like an immortal princess or something. But putting that aside, the protagonist wants to know what she talked about with his dad. Kana insists it's a secret, but then we're shown the scene. His dad sincerely thanks her for saving his precious son and asks her to keep taking care of him, which she accepts happily. And just like that, their trip comes to an end. They say goodbye to Yuzaki's parents and head back home, only to find out their house got struck by lightning, and the only thing left standing is a tiny plant. Thankfully, Yuzaki has insurance and kept all the documents safe, so he says everything's under control. Besides, they were planning to move anyway. But for now, they'll be staying at Kaname's place. Here, we learn that Aya has liked the protagonist since they were kids, but Yuzaki's married, and this is when she finds out about it. He feels a bit guilty for not noticing it, but Kaname tells him Aya simply missed her chance by never confessing her feelings. Even Aya herself admits it, and wishes him the best in his marriage. After that, the couple goes shopping for clothes, since they lost everything in the fire. The protagonist picks out outfits for her, and his eyes can barely handle how good she looks. She even buys some new underwear. That's when Yuzaki admits he kind of wants to see it. Kana tells him she doesn't mind showing him, and they both end up blushing like crazy. The next day, Kana spends time with Kaname, helping her out with her chores. During that time, Kaname realizes just how kind Kana really is. In the end, she thanks her for saving Yuzaki. Kana says that back then her body just moved on its own, but she's happy she saved the boy who would later become the love of her life. That same night, the couple goes for a walk, and Kaname's mom tells him to make a move. He said he wasn't planning anything like that, but during the walk he still asked for a kiss. Kana refuses, saying she ate something with garlic, so instead they just hug, telling each other how much they love one another and how happy they are together. Of course, the summer festival couldn't be missing. The whole group shows up and spends time together like a family. Later on, the couple shares another romantic moment. It almost turns into a perfect ending, but the others show up and interrupt them. After that, everyone watches this beautiful scene while Yuzaki wishes for this love to last forever. And just like that, season 1 comes to an end. It's a pretty simple anime, but at the same time it's really beautiful. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.